will join us too. And we are now live. So hello world. This is Holly and Gerard for Hangouts with Holly. And this week we're starting our discussion talking about The Little Prince and Chapter 3. And I see Amra has joined us. Hello. Is the sound not clear today, Gerard?
No, it's okay.
Okay. Yes, and I hear your voice softly, Amra. I don't know if your volume is down.
Okay, let me see.
Hello guys, can you hear me?
Yes, okay, now I can hear you well. And I was just checking to see if anyone had posted any replies to my push on Chapter 3, on Joanna's Chapter 3 post, trying to get some responses before class, but no one has replied. So have you been rereading or reading chapter 3 of The Little Prince?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Yes. I read it.
Okay. You read it. You have read it. And
yeah, I read it. Yeah.
Okay. And any comments on Joanna's questions or my questions from the link I just shared there again? On Chapter 3, trying to get you to use your English and practice sharing some ideas. So in Chapter 3, adults get made fun of. So do you think children are smarter than adults? Do children have a different kind of wisdom than adults?
Exactly, I totally agree with you. Most children has a good imagination and a wide of a lot of imaginations that they can see things different from others. How about you? How about you, Jaran?
I think children are more naive or innocent.
Naivete is an interesting word, and some people think it's the same as, excuse me, the same as innocent. Others think there might be a difference. And I see Kimo, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing your name correctly, but I see you've joined us. Welcome.
Hello, Kimo, how are you? Actually, I invited my friend Kimo. He is from it as well, and he's a teacher. You're welcome.
Okay. And can you hear us, Kimo? I'm not hearing any sound.
Hello, Kimo, how are you? Yeah.
Sometimes there are challenges when people join late, so I like to check to see if connection is clear. Not hearing a response. I hope you will be able to say hello soon. Do need a headset to have clear audio with a group on the Hangout.
Exactly.
But yeah, so Gerard, innocence, naivete. Do you think all children outgrow this? Instantly no longer innocent when we become 18 or 21?
I think the word naive could be used for adults that keep this innocence.
So I like to say that I'm a big kid. Does that mean that I'm completely innocent and naive?
Maybe.
Maybe.
When,
Oh.
but I think naive people don't like to think badly about the others.
That's an interesting statement.
Because we don't say naive to someone that think bad that the others are going to do something bad or can do something bad. For example, you can leave your car with the keys inside it and expect that no one is going to steal it. That would be being naive.
My husband of that frequently. He tells me I worry too much. He leaves his keys in his truck. Do you want to steal a truck? Come follow my husband around. Many men, especially with trucks, especially leave their keys somewhere in the truck. I don't know why more trucks are not stolen. Aha. Okay, so
Yes.
now
What did you do
I was
if you forget your
just
keys?
typing a note to Chemo. he's responding to me at the same time.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm sorry, Amrad, I interrupted you. You were going to ask a question.
Okay, no problem. Okay. Yes, asking about how did you do if you forget the keys in trucks?
He leaves it unlocked and his keys in the truck. Many men leave their keys in their trucks and leave the
Yeah, yeah,
trucks unlocked. Yeah. So if someone locks
yeah.
their keys in, then they're in trouble.
I often see in American films that
Yeah, it's really a big problem. Yeah.
you hide American people hide their house key under a rug or under the rug or under a pot or someplace in case they lost the key.
Yeah, yeah.
Is it true, Oli? For you?
Yes.
Exactly.
For me, our key, you could spend a long time trying to find our key. We do have one key hidden somewhere, but it's not in an
Yeah,
obvious place. But many people they sell these fake rocks. People sell plastic
yeah,
rocks they look like plastic rocks. And you put them prominently right near your door, and under there you'll find the keys. Many people actually really do this. Yes, and I see someone else has joined us here. I'm not sure how to pronounce your name. Adwe?
yeah. This is Adawi from Egypt.
Ado. Ado.
Adawi.
So,
This is Adawi from
Ado.
Egypt. He's my friend. Yeah.
Okay. So welcome. Can you say hello? I'd like to give everyone a chance to say hello. You're
Yeah.
welcome to listen, but
Yeah.
we do like to hear people say hello.
I think that he has some problems with connection. Maybe
Yeah.
later he can say hello.
Okay. Chemo, do you want to try again to say hello?
لا لا.
Your mic appears to be on, so you should be able to connect, but not working. Interesting. We haven't had this problem much recently. Google Hangouts have been working better, but we will continue. So let's get back to Joanna's question. So in chapter 3, the little prince who asked me so many questions. So the little prince likes to ask questions, and Joanna comments that she meets adults who don't understand that children don't understand the world around them. Do you agree with her? Do you think children do not understand? Is this what you mean by innocent? Do you think children do not understand the world around them?
I think nowadays they are not that innocent because they get a lot of information about everything, and they lose their innocence soon, or sooner than before.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I totally agree with you, Gerard. I think that children has a wide imagination and a big-minded and open-minded as well to understand what happened around us, but they can't say anything what to do, but they can feel everything around them. Yes, exactly. I think so.
The word
Yeah,
pure is often associated with innocence. And I think
yeah.
sometimes children see Gerard's remembering another conversation. Sheer innocence, pure innocence, collocations that are often used. Or pure innocence allows children to understand at a much deeper level. Ah, good. Here's Hala joining us. Hello, welcome. So I think sometimes adults add lots of details and complexity that sometimes the children see past all that and they see clearly what the real issue is. Sometimes children's innocence allows for a deeper wisdom that adults cover up, I think, sometimes. So Joanna asks, do you like asking questions or do you prefer answering questions? Oh, maybe I hear a voice. Some background noise. Hello, Hala. I'm not hearing you. I see your notes, but I don't hear you.
Hello?
There she is. Now I hear
Yes.
you. Hello. Welcome.
Hello, how are you? How are you? How are you all?
Thank you. We are fine.
So we were just
Yes.
asking a little Prince question. Do you like asking questions or do you prefer answering questions? If you have some background noise, if you can mute your mic when you're not talking, that will help the rest of us hear better. And then turn your mic on when you wish to speak. So anyone, do you prefer asking questions or answering questions?
I prefer answering, but I don't know how to answer good.
Well, don't know how.
Yes.
Exactly. Well, I prefer to answer questions.
Really? I'm
Yeah,
surprised by these answers.
Lindsay.
I see Gerard wants to speak. Go ahead,
Yes, I
Gerard.
like answering
I,
questions actually.
I prefer to ask questions, to make
Me too,
questions.
most of the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, chemo
First, I
both.
like to listen to the question.
I do love to
Exactly.
talk, so so I will answer as well. Interesting.
Yeah.
So why did the
Yeah.
little
So, what
prince?
kind of question do you mean, Holly?
Well, I'm referring to
Yeah.
chapter 3 in Joanna's post. So these are
Okay.
her questions, and she says her next question is, why did the little prince ask so many questions?
Because he curious. He have.
He's curious. Are all children
Yes.
curious?
Yes. Of
Yes,
course.
exactly. I totally agree with you, Hadir. Is it Hadir or Hala?
Hala, hala.
Hello, Hala.
Hala,
Yeah,
but
exactly.
yes.
Yes, exactly. I totally agree with you, Hala. Yeah. Have you changed your profile?
No, this is profile my sister.
Oh,
I
Ah,
use
yeah.
it. Yes.
You confuse us,
ah,
Hala.
the secret
Okay, no
comes
problem.
out.
Glad to meet you today, Hala. Yeah.
Ah,
Holly, I will give you my profile
uh, yeah, I don't know if you want
to enjoy. Yes.
to. You may not want to switch in the middle
Okay.
of a hangout.
Yeah.
You may lose connection, but yes, but thank you for telling us. I was wondering. Yeah. So the little prince is curious, and I am very curious. Oh, here's someone else joining us now. Amra, are you inviting lots of people here? Suila, I'm not sure how to pronounce your name, but welcome.
Suhail, yeah, yes, yes, exactly. This is Suhail from Algeria. He's my friend, exactly.
Uh, so our group grows. So I'll share the link again
Yes,
in
that's
case
fine.
everyone doesn't have it for the chapter 3. Um, yeah.
Thanks a lot.
So vocabulary that Joanna suggested we talk about is modest, which leads me to include
Yeah,
modesty. To break into, reverie, to tie up,
yeah.
and to burst. Have any questions about these, or did one prepare as I asked? Did anyone prepare in advance to share some questions? I posted a practice question with plunge into to show that it's a separable phrasal verb. Would you rather plunge your hands into 1, a bucket of mud, 2, a bucket filled with an unknown substance, or 3, a bucket of jello? Which would you prefer? Which would you rather plunge your hands into? So to plunge is a fast immersion.
Yeah, exactly. I like the person is modest or something like that. Modesty is good for
Yes.
humanity. Yeah.
That's, that wasn't the question.
But I spoke too many questions, so that was a challenge. Was to try and use modesty, and I didn't hear your sentence
Yeah.
um, uh, about modesty. Modesty is good for humankind.
Humankind and humanity. Yeah.
Modesty
Exactly.
is good for human.
Humanity. Yeah.
I will challenge you to use a better adjective than good. So I often challenge people to find a synonym for good, bad, sad. There usually are a
Yeah.
stronger vocabulary.
Yes, exactly.
So
Humanity is wonderful for humanity.
is is improved by,
Yeah, we
is
can say.
made wonderful, is made wonderful. You could use made wonderful. Or humanity
Yeah.
is made wonderful uh, by modesty. People agree or disagree? So we have a written note. Suhaila, we'd love to hear your voice if you'd like to say hello. Another shy or weak
Yeah.
connection.
Yes, exactly. I totally agree with you. Yeah.
Mm.
Yes.
You agree with your own statement.
Yes,
Oh,
exactly. I totally agree. Yeah. How about you guys? Do you agree or disagree?
ooh, someone has some strong background noise.
Yeah.
There. May need to mute your mic. Oh, and left the chat. So I'm not sure if that's from Amra or Adwe,
No,
but we may. So we may need to mute a mic so we don't have to hear that background sound.
it's not me exactly.
I think it's Adwe.
Hala or Adwe?
No, no, not from you.
Adwe.
Okay. Adwe, please mute your mic when there are background sounds. You're welcome to
Actually, I
say
mute
hello.
myself.
Yes, oh, now I hear you saying hello. I
Hello, Adawi, can you hear me?
now I hear a
Okay, Adawi,
voice.
say hello, Adawi.
Okay.
Yeah.
We got a yeah. Welcome.
Glad to meet today, Adawi.
Um,
Can you introduce yourself, please, Adawi?
Sorry, but I'm at work, so I just listen. Just listen.
Okay, thank you for letting us know that. So he's at work and not able. So you might want to mute your mic, please, so that we don't have the background noise. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Often a challenge when people try to sneak in and while they're at work and listen. Some are able to do that easier than others. So modesty helps the world be a better place when you are modest. When more people are more modest, the world is more wonderful. Agree or disagree?
I think that is not that important, modesty. For me, it's more important not being selfish.
So not as important?
Yeah.
No, actually, I disagree with you, Gerard. It's very important nowadays to be modest person to communicate with other people because we need it in our life to be good attitude or something like that. How about you guys? How about you, Hala? You agree or disagree?
I will translate it modest. That is me.
So an excellent point to bring up is what do we mean by modesty? And I feel like Gerard may have
Yeah.
been cut off, so I would like to give him a chance to speak more if he wishes to. But that's a good point to be clear about, is what do we mean by modesty? So modesty can apply to what you wear. It can apply to what you speak, depending on how you understand the definition. So, Gerard or Amra, how do you define modesty?
It's
Actually,
Gerard
okay.
first, please. He's indicated, yes.
It's a
okay.
quality that people that have some quality, some money or something, they don't brag about, or they don't boast about that, about what they have. Some people that are not modest, they brag even more than what they have. They brag about
Yeah.
things that they don't have. They brag, I am very good worker, and sometimes it's not true because usually
Yeah.
very good workers, they are modest. They don't need to boast about that they are good because with their work you can see that they are good.
Yeah, exactly. It's the opposite of arrogant person. Yeah, we can define this thing, but it's opposite.
Sometimes that helps.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, yeah.
I'm
You
I'm
know,
not
arrogant.
I'm not sure that I would
Yeah,
always
yeah,
use arrogance as an opposite, but it's gives a clearer picture for me.
yeah.
Um,
So Modest is a person who doesn't talk about himself or his abilities or his achievements. So he is modest.
So I see the work immodest, but immodest is not the opposite of modest.
Yeah, yeah,
Interesting point.
yes, that's good.
Does it exist a word in English that it is exactly the opposite of modest? High and modest? I think it doesn't exist either. Modest.
I think the reason
Yeah,
is
I'm modest.
related
Yeah.
related to the question I added. Do you is modesty perceived the same by each person? Do you think your exact definition of modesty would match my perception of modesty, for example? So because it's a character, a part of your trait or character or quality, it's going to be perceived differently by some people. My opinion, cultural influences.
Yeah, it depends.
Mm,
Exactly.
my favorite answer, it depends. So there are contextual differences. If you're a teenager and you're being modest and you're among a group of peers, and an hour later you're among a group of older adults, your own definition might change of what modesty means within that context and that group. So it's a difficult word to speak about, and I think it's interesting that there's some disagreement on whether it makes the world better or not. I have often been accused of being too modest. Instead of modesty is to be prudish. And I have been accused of being prudish on more than one occasion in different contexts. So sometimes modesty is perceived as a positive, very positive character trait, and in some groups it is not perceived as a positive quality trait.
Yes, yes. I think the person must be modest when he talk with someone don't have the thing that he have.
Okay, so
Okay.
modesty more important when you're aware of the difference.
Yes, if you have something, don't speak proud in front of someone don't have it. This is what I mean.
Yeah, so especially when you have the more or better, or maybe the other person would think that your quality or job or position or jewelry is better than theirs. You don't
Yes.
use that to your advantage. Interesting.
Yes.
Gerard, would you like to? Oh, a question from Amra. Sorry, question first.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. What does British mean?
prudish.
British. Yeah.
With a P, prudish. I want to be careful. Pronunciation-wise, similar between B-R-U-T and P-R-U-D. To be prudish will also vary among groups, but one example I can give, some people in my family like to tell dirty jokes. I often do not think they are funny. And because I don't really like some dirty jokes, I'm called prudish because I blush and I walk away and I don't want to hear it. They think I'm not as fun or that my character is weak, and that's their way of dealing with it, is to call me a prude, and say that I am prudish, is one example. Sometimes it has to do with fashion.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
if you are wearing clothing that is never very revealing, some people may assume that they know your character based on your clothing, and you can be called prudish for the types of clothes you choose to wear. So to be a prude also has different meanings in different contexts by different people. But it's when you are holding back and thinking perhaps that you're better than someone else because you don't share or brag.
About my sentence.
Mm-hmm.
Not always is good to be modest, because, for instance, a politician that could apply for president, if he was too modest, never would do that. And that won't be good.
Nice
So
example. How can you run for office if you're
yes.
modest?
Maybe you have a good qualities to be a president of something, but if you are too modest, never you'll be able to apply for something, for a higher place.
Yeah, it depends, Sharon.
Mhm. And about
Thinking.
dirty jokes, okay. About dirty jokes, I think depends of the people we are talking with. Some groups of people you talk differently, and even more politely or more um, colloquial, informal. You can make some jokes with some people, and you wouldn't make these jokes on look, for instance,
Mm-hmm.
because you can offend something or someone. It depends of the situation.
Yes, which was my point earlier. It's difficult to define modesty because it does fluctuate with whom
Yes, exactly.
you're speaking. What about marketing or sales? How can you be modest and promote a product?
Yeah,
This is another challenge I have.
I don't think so. Yeah, you shouldn't be modest in this situation. You should
Uh,
be helpful and how to help other people to choose what they need or something like that.
so now I have to challenge you again, Amre. We started this conversation with your comment that modesty is a wonderful attribute that
Yeah,
makes the
yeah,
world
exactly.
better, makes humanity better. So
Yes,
is
exactly.
humanity better without elections, without marketing?
No, we can't live without electricity or water or something like that, especially Wi-Fi nowadays. Yeah, nowadays it's important to get Wi-Fi to connect with other people and to learn languages like English or other languages. How about you, Jiran?
Uh, but I
Yes.
think maybe you misheard my question. So not
Mm.
electricity, but elections. We were talking about how you can't be too modest if you run for office. and you can't be too modest if you're trying to sell something. So how does that fit with your thinking that modesty is wonderful for humanity? So my question then is humanity better without marketing, without elections?
No, no, we can't live without marketing or elections. Yeah, we need to buy and sell food to live or something like that. So we need to vote for the president elections or the parliament members to and choose a lot of members to be on behalf on our in the parliament or something like that.
Life gets complicated when we grow up. So is it easier to be a child and more innocent, or easier to be an adult?
It's a challenging question, yeah.
It depends.
Exactly.
I love that answer. It just works so well, so often. Okay, so back to my earlier question that I had posted on Loop, and no one has answered yet. Is it easier, or no, excuse me, would you rather plunge your hands into a bucket of mud, a bucket filled with an unknown substance, or a bucket of Jell-O? Which one and why?
Actually, I prefer a bucket of Jello because it's a little bit cold, yeah.
It would feel cool, okay.
Yeah, because it's cold here nowadays. It's very hot, so we need to put it in bucket
I like
Jello.
it. I like your
Yeah, I
reasoning.
like Jello so much. Yeah. Yeah. How about you?
I would choose a bucket of mud.
And why?
I wouldn't choose an unknown substance.
Would not choose the second one, okay? And chemo's bad. Yeah.
I'm imagining a can of worms.
Worms. Oh,
nasty.
So unknown would be the least preferred choice. Why mud over Jell-O?
Because that reminds me my childhood.
Reminds you of your childhood?
Of my childhood, yes, playing with mud.
I would choose mud also, and make mud pies, right? Like as I did when I was young, and as I have done as an adult with other children. Anyone else have a choice and an explanation? Mud, unknown, or Jell-O? Plunge your hands into it. Chemo, did you manage your mic? Are you able to talk to us? Sometimes leaving a hangout and coming back gets the mic working, but maybe not today. Still not.
Yeah.
So we're glad you came back. So my other.
Yes,
something.
Yes. I prefer a bucket of Jell-O.
Also Jell-O.
Because,
so two for mud, two for Jell-O.
Because unknown substance, it is maybe something hurt. I don't know what it's.
Yeah, might be something that could hurt you.
Yes.
Yeah.
We would all avoid the unknown. And what do you think a child would choose is my next follow-up question.
Choose unknown. substance. Yes.
So we've all lost our innocence, and none of us would choose the unknown.
Yeah.
Uh,
I think that most Arabs love a bucket of jello nowadays because it's very hot.
yes, but the jello would be sticky and sugary and melt. The mud
Yeah,
would be
yeah.
mud could
But
be
it's
cool.
delicious. Yeah.
Uh,
One
Mud
thing
maybe
I
you can shape
oh,
it different kind of some things like that. Yeah. You can shape the mud. We are make a lot of shapes for mud when we are playing on the beach.
hmm yes,
Yeah.
sand castles
Yeah.
and yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
Exactly.
mm, Gerard,
I, w- I wouldn't like to touch a sponge. You know, all mattresses made by
sponge.
a sponge. Yes,
You wouldn't
because
want to touch a wet sponge?
yes, no, but a dry sponge because it gives me a bad sensation. You know.
Really?
Yes,
You
like
don't like to squeeze a nice wet sponge?
no, wet, no, dry. I mean a dry sponge, a dry sponge.
So you wouldn't want to touch a dry sponge?
No, I feel gives me a bad sensation. I don't know how to explain.
To a bad sensation?
Yes.
Bad sensation. Touching
Mm.
a dry sponge. Interesting. I can see by your
Yeah.
expression that it's definitely a negative sensation. You don't
Mm.
like dry
Yes.
sponges. Huh, interesting. I wonder what the history of that is.
I don't
uh,
know.
I'm not. I don't mind dry, clean dry sponges. Um, I often pick up an old dry sponge by the corner and throw it away. They seem unsanitary. Me often a used sponge,
Yeah.
but
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
a clean dry sponge doesn't bother me at all.
But the
Interesting
ones,
reaction. Uh-huh.
I mean, especially the sponge made by old mattresses that were made with a
Ah,
sponge. Do you know
yes.
it? Yeah. And they are flat. The flat part of the mat. This, if I touch it, I don't like that.
Yes, and that texture is a strange texture and
Yes.
makes my nose curl too. Flat side of an old mattress. I don't know if that is actually a sponge that absorbs water or not. I think it would deflect water, but it is spongy. So I would spongy material, foam, foam, um, foam mattress. We often use this adjective for a mattress, and it has that. My nose is curling up too now, so that I can identify with. Interesting that your mind went to dry sponges. Okay, so challenge back to you again. We've talked about modesty and plunging into. What about some of the other vocabulary there?
Oh,
Hopefully they'll take right off. We've got a motorbike out the window. So this was the modesty, vocabulary that Joanna had suggested. I'll copy it to the chat there. So anyone want to practice with any of that vocabulary?
Yes. Read it. Read vocabulary.
I just pasted it in our chat here. Do you know how to look at the chat space on the
Yes.
Hangout?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Vocabulary like modest.
Right. So if you want to practice pronunciation, you're welcome to read it. But in our book group, I had asked, and Joanna had asked, for people to share practice using the vocabulary or share other vocabulary, other questions from chapter 3 that you have. So I'm trying to encourage you to initiate and practice. So I posted the question about plunge into with the mud, the jello, or unknown, and I was hoping that some of you might practice the vocabulary in some way with us also. So any questions about this vocabulary or an example you can think of to practice using it?
Yes, let me say that I have a modest friend.
Okay. And we all know now that that could mean many things. So can you tell us more? What makes you call your friend modest?
Yes, exactly. And we have a modest tutor here, Miss Holly.
Ah, you're calling me modest. Why? What makes you think I am modest?
Yes, you are modest. That's exactly my feeling, yeah.
What have I done to demonstrate modesty?
Modesty, it's a feeling to accept others' opinions, and yeah, I think so. So you are modest. Yeah, and accept my friends to attend this class without approving. So this is modest, yeah, or modesty, yeah. We can say it modesty.
Interesting. I'm trying to
Yeah,
write what you had said. So modest in the sense of accepting others. I'm not sure that I would usually relate that to modesty. Anyone else?
yeah. Accepting others' opinions,
No.
activities, yeah.
Now my family would tell you that I'm very opinionated. In different circles, we all show different sides of ourselves, maybe. I don't know if I've ever thought of myself and my sense of modesty as relating to how I accept others, but I can see that now as you explain. I've never thought of it in that way before. That sort of fits with the I hope I'm not arrogant. If I'm not arrogant, I allow.
Exactly.
I
You
try
aren't
not.
arrogant at
I
all.
try not to be.
I don't think so. Yeah.
Yeah,
How about you guys?
interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sounds good. Yeah.
Yes.
This is reality. Yeah.
Yes.
How do you feel about that, guys? Do you think this Molly is modest or arrogant?
Ah, yes. Here you go. Your chance to accuse me.
I think the people are around me. They modest.
Most people around you, most people you associate with, are
Yes.
modest.
Yes.
I wonder if that makes it more difficult or
No. No.
not when you meet someone who isn't. I wonder if you're lucky enough to be surrounded by people who tend to be modest. I wonder if that makes it more difficult.
Yes. Yes. Of course, it is difficult to to uh, to speak with someone not modest.
Hmm. Exactly. I totally agree with you. So, do you believe that you are modest here?
Yes, I think I'm modest.
Yeah, I hope so.
uh,
Yeah. How about you,
uh,
Gerard? How do you feel about me? Do you feel that I'm modest or arrogant?
oh, oh.
I think I think being
Yeah,
arrogant is not the same that not being modest, because or
uh,
yeah,
boasting, because some people can pretend that they are more than what they actually are. I would say not modest person, a person that shows off about what they have. But some people like to pretend that they are more,
Yeah.
so that's different. That's even worse.
Worse than being arrogant. So
That
you'd
being
rather
not
live.
modest.
yeah,
That being not
yeah.
modest,
Yeah, I don't
because you
think
can be.
so.
Uh,
I disagree with you, Gerard. It's a
uh,
passion, yeah. We can't be pretend that you are modest, even you are arrogant. It's a sensation. You can't pretend that you are a modest person if you are arrogant person. Do you agree
But
with me or disagree?
I told you before, if a
Yeah,
politician was too modest, wouldn't never apply for president or for something important. So being no
yeah,
modest is not the same. Being no modest is not the same that being arrogant.
so I think you're saying that
yeah.
not all arrogant people are necessarily not modest. So
Yes, I agree
modesty
with you.
doesn't have to relate to arrogance, and you
Yes,
can
exactly.
pretend to be something and not be arrogant.
Yeah, yeah. You can't pretend to be modest at all if you are arrogant. Yeah,
Yes, of course.
it's a sensation. If a person
Okay,
is
so
arrogant,
so you're not
you
saying
can't
that an arrogant person isn't
can't
uh,
pretend to be a modest person. Yeah,
okay, but you are
yeah,
saying that someone can pretend to be or have more than they are and not
yeah,
be
yeah.
arrogant, not be arrogant.
Not be. It's Sharon who said that.
Yeah, I'm trying to
Yeah.
be sure about
Okay.
what Gerard is saying. So I'm wondering if that's what you're saying, is that someone can be can be pretending and yet
Yeah.
not be arrogant. So
Yes. Yes.
they would still be not modest. They would
A
still
human.
not be what you would call modest, Gerard, but they would not be arrogant.
I guess that human can't be modest if he an arrogant person.
I think I explained myself wrong. I mean,
I'm not sure. Yeah.
being not modest is not the same that being arrogant, because sometimes we should be not no modest, because we don't
Ah,
need to hide our quality sometimes, but that doesn't mean we are arrogant.
so, for example, you could market something like yourself for an elected office and not necessarily be arrogant.
Yes.
Yeah, I agree with that. I have seen politicians whom I would call arrogant, and I have listened to and seen politicians that I would not call arrogant, but would have to say they're not very modest because they have to talk about themselves to some degree. Uh, it's it's often though the more arrogant politicians who
Yeah.
succeed.
Yes. Yeah. 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 Most of the politicians lie all the time. They pretend to be modest, but they are in the opposite. Yeah.
And
I agree with you on that point, Holly.
Mm,
I
Yes.
also
Go ahead,
think
Sharon.
that arrogant people like to put down the others, to
yes,
put them in a higher place, to
yeah,
put themselves.
yeah. Always get yourself to the top, to the top, to the top,
Hmm.
putting everybody else down. Ah, um, all right.
Yeah, exactly. I
So,
think that we are to hold another hangout to talk about modesty.
This one has had a lot. This hangout has had a lot of talk
Yeah,
about modesty.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
It's enough to talk about this adjective all the hangout.
Yes,
Yeah,
really, that has
yes,
hangout, separable, and compound word has lots of different meanings. So
yeah,
does to tie up. So in
yeah,
chapter 3, to tie up is the um, literal uh, literal meaning almost is that you take a rope and you tie someone and you have an upward motion as you're tying them up. But to tie
yeah.
up can have many usages. So can you think of other examples of to tie up? You can tie up traffic, for example. Traffic was tied up.
Yes. We
Traffic
can
was
tie up
tied up.
our friends when we are playing or doing exercise or something like that.
Um,
Yeah,
so tie up our friends could have
yeah,
two two meanings. More common is I'm tied up with my friend. I'm not available right now. I'm busy. I'm tied up. So tied up
yeah.
can mean
Uh,
busy. To tie up can mean take a rope and make knots and trap someone, tie them up with a rope. When the traffic is tied up, it's busy. You're trapped, not with a rope, but you're stuck. There's lots of busyness. If you're tied up with work, you're not free, you're not available, you're trapped in your work.
mm,
So the meanings are similar in that sense.
yeah.
Can
Oh,
you
yeah.
say you are tied up when you are married?
I like that. Can you use the when or because you are married? Um, Interesting. I've not heard it used as a broad example of what happens when you're married. You certainly can use the excuse that you're tied up because your husband wants you to do something or your wife wants you to do something, and many men and women use those excuses to get out of another responsibility. But to tie up your whole life, my whole life is tied up because I'm married now. People would understand. The meaning would come
For
across.
you generally, yeah.
Feeling trapped. Some people do, some people are. Um, Sometimes it's not funny. You made me burst out laughing when you asked that question, so I got to practice another vocabulary.
Yeah, I think
And,
that Gerard wants to tie up his wife. Yeah.
uh,
Holly, would we say that you are tied up with Luke?
definitely. My husband would say yes.
Absolutely.
Unequivocally.
Yeah.
He would like to see me untied a bit. He would like to see me loosen the ties. You often hear this expression. Just like you loosen a tie if you're wearing one around your neck, you loosen that
Yeah.
tie and you're not so tied up, you're not so restricted.
Yeah, yeah. So what does it mean exactly, losing the ties?
So if you loosen the ties, if you're following Gerard's example and you say that you're tied up since you're married, you're trapped.
Yeah.
If you loosen those ties, it would mean that your spouse gave you some freedom, or you felt more freedom from your
Yeah,
spouse,
yeah.
so you felt less restricted.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I see, I see. Thanks a lot.
Mhm. And certainly there are many differences in relationships and the degrees to which people feel tied up. So I feel a little tied up in The Little Prince. So we can also use tied up in the sense that we are monopolized by a topic. When you're tied up or trapped in The Little Prince, you're trying to relate everything to that project, to that topic. So I'm hoping that next time more of you will post some questions or comments to Chapter 4.
Yeah.
Answer some of Anna's questions and get more involved in her book group on Loop, I hope.
Yeah.
One
Yeah.
question.
Thanks a lot, Holly.
Yes, and our hour. Go ahead, Gerard.
Is it this book? Is it free?
There is a link shared in the book group, and I can share it. I'll share it again on Loop here in a minute, where you can read the book online. I don't share it too much because I'm in the U.S. where it should be purchased, but there is a site that has a version of translated into English available. Yeah. So I
It's
am going to
weird.
start. Go ahead.
It wasn't available on Amazon in English, but it was available in French. But
Oh, for you to get? I have an ebook from Amazon, but it is available for me. That's interesting that you're not able to access it in English. But yes, I'll share that link on Loop in just a minute. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Bye, Hala. Bye,
Thank you.
Amre. Bye, Gerard.
Bye bye.
Bye,
Thank
bye.
you.
Thank you. Bye.